Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam, Watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts. And another Monday Night Fire, Salaki, Monday Night Fire. Giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh. By Shema Mashiach, Malak Yahushai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David. That's been in this truth for decades and decades. Patiently waiting for the second coming of Yahushai. A hearty shalom to you, mighty men of the Most High, who go out. It's like a double honor to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Hamashiach Yahushai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High who are out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying. They're fasting. They're studying. They're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Akwath out there, the sincere sisters out there, holding it down in the households, reverencing their husbands, being submissive, being diligent, and moving in the spirit of our righteous foremother. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to everybody tuning in live on the Monday Night Fire. Kwam Yashala, all praises to Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Malak Yahushai. The topic of this Monday Night Fire that we're going into is current events and everything and anything you need to know about the Passover Q&A, right? So this we'll touch on some current events. You have a lot of prophecy coming to pass. You have the kings of the East actually linking up on a massive level. You have Russia reaching out to China. China is now getting involved with this Russian invasion, according to multiple sources that can all confirm and corroborate that Putin has reached out and asked for China to get involved when it comes to this Ukraine invasion, whether that's boots on the ground or whether that's military aid or military equipment or vehicles, ammunitions, artillery, firearms, bombs. They have reached out, and China have given a thumbs up and a green light and says, yeah, we're down with that. NATO, this, and we're going to pull all this stuff up too. I'm just giving you a brief summary about what's going on. NATO, they're sending about 30,000 troops out on the border for supposedly military training and war drills. So you're living in a time of great prophecy, right? And in due time, this thing will actually peak off on a great massive level, right? Let's get this precept real quick, right? Let's go to the book of St. Luke, chapter 21. Bear with me. Let's go to St. Luke, chapter 21, and I will start at verse 33. This St. Luke chapter 21 and 33. I'll start at 29. And he spake to them a parable. Behold, the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. And summer is now nigh at hand. Even on a physical level, you can see the transition of the seasons. You can understand. Salakia. Bear with me. Salakia. Even on a physical level, you can see the elements changing. You can see the transition from the wintertime to the springtime. You can see the sun the daylight beginning to extend more. You see the animals coming out. You can see that the seasons are changing and this wintertime is over. And the Lord compares that seasonal change to the prophecies on the earth. He says, when you see the prophecies coming to pass, the wars, the rumors of wars, the sightings in the sky, the blood moons, the nation against nation, political and civil unrest, when you see these things, summer is now nigh at hand. Right? Let's read on. Verse, and summer is symbolic for the kingdom, right? Full of light. All right, if you can understand. So likewise, yea, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of the Most High is nigh at hand. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Meaning what? Everybody that Yahushua spoke to well over 2,000 years ago, they heard those words, and that same generation is living right now. In 2022, the exact same spirits that walked with Yahushua, good or bad, guess what? They're on the earth right now. Annas, Caiaphas, Judas, Herod, Peter, John, James, Andrew, Thomas, Bartholomew, Simon the Zealot, Joseph of Arimathea, Anna the prophetess, All of these souls are back on the earth. And the Lord told them when he returns that generation, that all things, all things are going to be fulfilled in that generation, which means that generation is on the earth right now. Yahweh Shai didn't fulfill everything yet, man. Right? There were certain prophecies that wasn't manifest during the time of Yahweh Shai when he first walked the earth. The destruction of America, right? Isaiah chapter 14, Isaiah 63, Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, Habakkuk 2 and 4, 2 and 4 and down with the second chapter, Nahum the third chapter. A lot of prophecies wasn't fulfilled when Yahweh Shai walked the earth and that generation. But he told them in that exact same generation that those same prophecies that wasn't fulfilled are going to be fulfilled, which means, guess what? It will have to mean that those spirits are back on the earth. That's regeneration in the Bible. So this is the last generation. That's why even the so-called white man, he'll call this Generation Z or Generation X. You know, he has these different labels for these different generations. You got the baby boomers. You got Generation X. You got Generation Z. So even the world scholars and the top men of the earth, they know that this is the last generation. This is the last go around. This is it. There's not going to be another generation. When I say that, I'm speaking about this on this side, within the so-called white man's kingdom. You're not going to be here for 400 more years, 500 more years. This is it. You know? Now I want to read on. Luke 21 and verse 34. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. So you can't get too caught up in the world, right? That's what it's saying. You got to check yourself sometimes, right? I did a cold cut on that not too long ago. Sometimes this world will play on your mind and make you believe that this place is your rest. You may get caught up in your job. You may have a business. You get caught up in your business, right? Caught up in your family, right? Caught up in your kids and extracurricular activities and hobbies and pastimes and, you know, television and stuff and music. And it just takes your mind away from the truth. And you have to break that barrier and cut those damn smoke and mirrors, man. And remind yourself that this isn't it. That's what the Lord said. Take heed lest your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting. Surfeiting is doing things in excess, right? Spending too much time in the world. You spend so much time in the world, you begin to lose focus of the prophecies coming to pass. And once these prophecies come to pass, you're not paying attention and you're going to be caught up in a prophecy. It reads, watch ye like it, for as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. I mean, it's going to catch man when he least expected. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. And that's something we have to pray for. Pray that we're worthy to escape the destruction, the famine, Jacob's trouble, all hell breaking loose. This is what brothers should be praying for. Pray that you're worthy to escape all of the destruction coming on the earth. When war kicks off, pray that you're not drafted, fighting a battle about damn God knows what, man. Pray that you don't starve to death in a famine and you're eating your loved ones. Pray that the Most High has angels around you to guide you on your pilgrimage that's soon to come. Pray that the Most High provides for you on a spiritual level with wisdom and knowledge to keep you stable in the times to come. These are the things that you should be focused on and dialed in about preservation from the evil days or the days to come. That's what Yahweh Shah said, pray that you're accounted worthy to escape these things. You know, you have things that you should pray for that are profitable, and then you have vanity. And you have to remind yourself and check yourself and see what you're praying for. Is it vanity when the smoke settles and the bombs drop, or were you praying for profitable things? The Lord told you what to pray for, so you don't have to really think about it. The Lord said, pray that you're accounted worthy to escape all hell breaking loose, man. So when Yahweh Shah returns, you make it up out of this thing, man. You can't take this money with you, their clothes, in your car. You can't take your job. You think you're gonna take your job to the kingdom? You can't take this with you, man. This place this has to rest on this side. You know? It's like let me get Yara down in here. Bear with me. Shalom, King.
Can you hear me?
Khan, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Con.
Khan. All right, so we're gonna deal with before we get deep into those current events, we want to run this Passover Q&A. So if there's any questions about the Passover, I did a cold cut on it, but I said we would do another lesson, and there's no better time to do it than now, through the spirit of power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. So if there's any questions about the Passover, then ask your questions now, right? We're keeping the Passover. I know certain brothers are keeping it this week. Some are keeping it early April. Some are keeping it late April. We're keeping ours April 14th at sundown, right? April 14th at sundown. So if you have any questions about the Passover, you can ask your question, and I will post it on the screen, and we'll get into it. So here's the first question from St. Mark. Shalom, family. Question. I'm in a place where no kosher wine can be found. Can I replace it with grape juice for the Passover? Well, you can order if I'm not mistaken, order wine, or you will have to go and see where you can find that, right? You got to drink wine, right? I'm not sure where you're located, brother, but maybe somebody can help you out on the comment board. But you have to drink wine, or you can't drink grape juice. That's for if you're like 3 years old or 4 years old. All right, so like yeah. If you're like 3 or 4, then yeah, but you have to find a means, King. Right? Madness. You have to find a means to make this thing happen. All right. Now, kosher wine is you have Manny Shevitz, that's a good kosher wine. You have Magen David, that's another good kosher wine. And sometimes you got to check multiple liquor stores, man, multiple wineries. Sometimes you got to travel. There's a winery in Maryland. Brothers, they'll go like 2 hours, man, to go to that winery to get particular wines. You got to make this thing happen. So yeah, it may not be within a 10-mile radius. It may not be, within 25 to 30 minutes from you. Hey, but it might be an hour and a half from you. Hey, it might be 2 hours away from you, but you're gonna get that wine for the Passover because you want to serve Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahushua. Right? You're gonna look at that gas price. You're gonna say, I don't give a damn. You're gonna put in for that gas. You're gonna take that drive, and you're gonna come and you're gonna have that wine. You're gonna keep the Most High's commandments. Right? Let's get this in St. Luke chapter 22. Right? This St. Luke. Remember, people travel miles to see Yahweh Shai, man. It's not as if Yahweh Shai was just always within arm's reach. People travel from all coasts to get to the Lord, and that's the spirit that we have to be in, because we want remember that wine is symbolic for the blood of Yahweh Shai. So if you were to just drink grape juice, you're not doing it in remembrance of Yahweh Shai. We have to do this thing the right way, right? I want to get this in St. Luke chapter 22, and I'll read verse. Let's start at 17. Luke chapter 22 and verse 17. And he took the cup and gave thanks and said, take this and divide it among yourselves. So that's the wine Yahushua told the apostles to divide amongst themselves. It reads, for I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine, Salakia, until the kingdom of God shall come. So the Lord told them to drink the wine. Now I'm going to jump to verse 20. Likewise, also the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. So that cup is, it's deep, man. That's the Lord's blood on a spiritual level. So we have to, if you're serious about your faith in Hamashiach Yahushua, then you're gonna get that wine. Like I said, you can even look up. I'm sure there's more types of kosher wines. I'm familiar with the two main ones, but if brothers know any other types of kosher wine, maybe you can help the brother out. post it on the comment board, and maybe the brother may have overlooked it. You may have overlooked it, King, or like I said, you may have to travel a little bit further to get it. See if you can order it. Just try to make that thing happen. All right. So I want to get this other precept for St. Matthew. Right. Let's go to St. Matthew. Actually, I want to go to John chapter 6. Right. Let's go to John chapter 6. And I want to go to verse 15. Just to show you how our forefathers were when it came to Yahushua. All right. When it came to seeking the blood of Yahushua and his body. Right. Through faith. This is the book of St. John chapter 6. And I'll start at verse 14. Then those men, when they had seen the miracle that Yahushua did, said, "This is of a truth that prophet that shall come into the world." Right? Salakia.
Shalom.
Shalom. Right? It says, let me read that again. I'll read on. John chapter 6 and 15. When Yahushua therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into a mountain himself alone. So they wanted the Lord so much they was going to grab him up by force, man. That's how bad we got to want this wine. That's how bad we got to want to keep the Passover. You got to want it as bad as your forefathers, who are going to literally go out of their way, travel, grab up the Lord, and make him their king. Now I want to get this. I want to get another precept. Let's go to St. Luke chapter 19 and verse 1. Right? This St. Luke chapter 19 and 1. It reads, "And Yahushua entered and passed through Jericho. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. And he sought to see Yahushua, who he was, and could not for the prince, because he was little of stature." So he couldn't really see Yahushua. Nobody knows how tall Zacchaeus was. I'm led to believe maybe he was about 5'8", maybe 5'7". Now, did he just say, "Oh, well, I can't see the Lord. Oh, boy, I'm too short. It is what it is. I'm going home"? Where's the account of Zacchaeus saying, "Well, I can't see him. I'm too short. I'm going to just pray for more height"? Right? I'm going to pray that the Lord makes me taller. Maybe I'll see him next time when there's not too many people. Or maybe I'll just go home and I'll never see him again. And it is what it is. That's not in there, man. You got to do what you got to do to get to the Lord. So what did Zacchaeus do? He was too short, physically incapable of growing any taller on his own. So he did what he had to do, right? St. Luke chapter 19 and verse 3 and verse 4. "And he ran before and climbed up." And there's no telling how far he was running. Right? He got to get to the Lord, and nothing's going to stop him. He don't care what people think about him. He's running to the Lord. Right? "And he ran before and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way." So he climbed up a tree. He's not a professional climber. He didn't go to tree climbing school. There's no account of Zacchaeus taking 15 credits every semester. Right? What does it say? Okay, Zacchaeus, he was a major in tree climbing, and his minor was in forensic studies. That's not happening. He climbed up that tree, could have fell, could have died, but the point of the matter is he did what he had to do. And we got to do what we got to do. So if we don't have no wine, in a place, and we got to go find it. We got to go make it happen. You have something, Yardan?
This is Slakia. Psalm 63 and 8. I thought I had to pull it up. Psalms chapter 63 and 8. And it reads, "My soul followeth hard after thee. Thy right hand upholdeth me." And that's what we have to do for the Lord, follow hard after him. Right? Of course, when we want wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, but also completing the things that he asks for. And we know the things that we have to do is what? Drink of the wine and eat of the bread, right? So it'll behoove Israel to go out their way to make sure they have everything necessary to complete the Passover, to execute it in righteousness, and not only in righteousness, but in perfection. All right. So if you need to walk to get the yan yan, you gotta go walk. If you need to take a bus, you're gonna have to take a bus. If you need to take a bike, you can take your bike. Literally, there should be no reason that you can't get it. You know,
Yeah, you got to exhaust all your options, right? Exhaust your options. If you need further help, King, reach out on the email at Most I Willing. We can help you out through the spirit.
and I meant to ask, how old was he?
Oh, I didn't. Slack here. Let me see if I can go back to the question. Well, the brother could just email,
Oh man,
right? You can email us Saint Mark Most I Willing, and we could
I got one more thing too.
Oh, go ahead, King Salakia.
I know sometimes Israel might be not
Yeah,
everybody on this on the comment board is like 18 and up.
right.
So we understand if certain brothers may be 10, 15, and they're in a crazy situation where they just try. That's all we'll say. We won't tell you not to try. We'll tell Israel to just try. You know, if you're 15, maybe you need to see that bad kid. That makes stuff happen. If you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. And
That's
by
right.
that I mean, you get what I'm saying.
You do what you have to do to get that wine.
Yeah.
You don't sin,
You,
but you
you go to
exhaust
that
all your
guy
options.
who sells everything and got everything in righteousness.
Right. All right. From Nashan Bond Israel. Shalom, King, question about Passover. How do I go about getting rid of leaven while living with family members that's not in the truth? Can't just throw away stuff I didn't purchase. The Water King. Let me get this precept. Right? This is the book of James. It's like it. Yeah, let's get James chapter 4. Right? This is the book of James, chapter 4 and verse 6. It reads, "But he giveth more grace. Wherefore he said, the Most High resisted the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble." So, like, Yaradan was saying, a lot of our, people are in situations, they're in tight bonds, right? They may be young, they may be down bad financially, they may be living with their folks, and, they have all of this leaven in the house. And, if you get rid of it, then, but I mean, you're out of there. Or they'll fight you. Like I said, we knew one brother that he got stabbed by his actual father. Right? He told his father about the true image of Yahweh Shai. His earthly father scoffed at it. So he proceeded to say, "All right, I don't want to talk about it no more." So the brother walks up the steps, and his father gets a knife and stabs him in the back, and he falls down the stairs and gets a concussion. So I mean, these things happen. One brother had his beard shaved off. So a lot of our people live in demonic situations, man. So if you can't just get rid of your mother's pound cake, and potato bread, then look, you just keep, you do what you can. You do what you can. If there's like-minded Israelites your age within the area and they're able to keep the Passover and y'all are on one accord, see if you can congregate with like-minded brothers and sisters and keep the Passover with them, and I'll see if you can get out the house for that night. Just keep the Passover or congregate with like-minded individuals who are on one accord. But if that's out the question, you don't have anybody around you, then by all means, you just, if you have a bedroom, your own room, make sure there's no leaven in your room. Make sure if you have your own bedroom and, you may not have full dominion over the house, make sure you search hard for any food in the house or food, that you can get rid of that's in your room, and you just get rid of that. And you pray to Yahweh Shai that he forgives you for that leaven being in the house, and the Most High is merciful, knowing that you don't have control over that situation, and he giveth grace unto the humble. That's what grace is about. There's a lot of things that we can't do for the Passover. Right? We can't go to Jerusalem. Right? We can't go to the temple. Hey man, you can't really put blood on your doorpost like that, man. Or you're going to jail, and Child Protective Services will knock at your door in the middle of the night, man. Or APS, Adult Protective Services. They'll come snatch your woman up, man, and say you can never see a woman again. So there's a lot of limitations that come with being in this captivity when it comes to keeping the high holy day. You had a precept, Yardan?
God, this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4:15, and it reads, "But the 4:15, this the people saw and understood it not. The people in this context is the heathen. Neither laid they up this in their minds, that his grace and mercy is with his saints, and that he hath respect unto his chosen." So we get all the mercy. All right. So when we're in situations where we may not be able to perfect the law to the best of our ability, yeah, that's where mercy and grace comes in. You know, that's one of the reasons why Yahushua gave up the ghost. So we're granted more grace and mercy.
Ah, that's right. That's right. All right, next question. Let's see. From Terry Jacobs. Is it okay to listen to music on the Passover since it's a solemn feast? Yeah, it's not a sin. It's not a sin to listen to music on the Passover. All right. Now we have to clarify and qualify. Now, what are you listening to in the Passover? All right, you don't have to answer it. Now, that's a rhetorical question. Are you listening to damn, God knows what, man? Gucci man, right? Uh who I don't the baby? Who's another current rapper? What's that? Somebody else, man. Is a guy, it's a little baby.
Yeah, look, I think you got Lil Baby and Da Baby.
You got Lil Baby and the Baby. If you listening to Lil, I feel crazy even saying those names. If you're listening to Lil Baby and the Baby on the Passover, you're off. You know. Let me get this precept. Not saying you listening to that, but when you're listening to music on the Passover, even Yahweh Shah sang a hymn on the Passover, right? So I want to get this precept. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and 33. It all depends on what you're listening to. And you want to be careful too, because with that music, you're inviting spirits, right? You're inviting spirits into that thing. So if you sitting there listening to some some old nasty Birdman, the old Birdman mixtape from 2004 with Manny Fresh, then that's not right. Your spirit is going to be off, right? You're listening to damn Trick Daddy as if it's 2003 all over again, right? That your mind is going to be spoiled and tainted. Project Pat, you're going to be going off playing Project Pat at the Passover. How evil can you be? Now this 1 Corinthians chapter 15 to 33. And that music, man, is absolute madness. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 to 33. It reads, "Be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners." Right, so that's an ancient saying. Those evil communications, which are those lyrics, right? And a lot of them lyrics we always go into, they have what's the word I'm looking? They have spiritual tunes and so-called frequencies that they strategically plan to try to get it stuck in your head and put a spirit on you. Like Yardan brought out that mosh pit, that mosh pit music, man. When they form a big circle and they just pushing each other around, damn drinking beer, smashing their head, man. Right? That's what Esau do when they start playing that heavy metal. If you're playing heavy metal music on the Sabbath with the electric guitar yelling in your ears and somebody screaming, well, your mind is bad. right? Why would you? Why would you even eat? You might as well eat a bat, right?
Yeah,
If you're gonna do that, man, you'll start looking at the lamb and damn, eating the lamb like a maniac. You start getting,
like
hey man, if you listening to some Project Pat on a Passover, you will be drunk, right? You're going to get drunk. Let's just be real. If you have some old nasty little Kim plan, hey, the women are going to be off, man. They're going to start gossiping. It's going to be slander, confusion. So you want to be careful. I got one more precept, right? This is the book of oh, go ahead, King. I get this after you.
no, I was just gonna say, yeah, 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 that's facts. Jake can eat the lamb like it's a mutton chop, you know. So I put a hot sauce on it and mayonnaise and relish. You got it. So we kind of frozen that thing. I'm gonna pull up a precept. It's Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15. And it reads, see then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. We got to walk circumspectly in this thing, right? Use wisdom and apply knowledge, right? In everything we do, especially the Passover. All right. In fact, this is one of the most serious days of the year. So it'll behoove Israel to make sure that they're being careful in everything. All right. Let me get that other precept in the book of Sirach. All right. After all, this is the Lord's body. You end up messing around breaking one of the bones. Hey, you're pretty much finished. Let me get that real quick. Psalms 34 and 20. Then I'm gonna jump back to the original one I want. It's Psalms 34 and 20. He keepeth all his bones, not one of them is broken. But yet you broke it during the Passover, all because you had Lil Kim and damn Eminem playing, talking about him hating his mother, saying he hates his mother. That's not honoring your parents. See, when you, again, like the brother mentioned, when you listen to certain music, you're inviting spirits, right? Of course, the Most High can send down spirits to plague you anytime he sees fit. But you too, Israel, you have the power to invite spirits as well. All right. That doesn't make it a good thing because you have that power, right? But nevertheless, Israel, that's what you're doing. You're inviting spirits, evil spirits on the left hand side that can plague your mind, that can alter your judgment. You understand? Let me see if they're still going live. Okay, Khan. All right, this is Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the first clause is the main clause that I want to jump into, right? Be careful for nothing. Or you have to be wise and circumspect on how you handle every matter, right? When you eat another lamb, you can't break the bones. Now they can eat the fat, right? Pursuing the Leviticus, the 7th chapter, and the 26th verse. I believe it's the 23rd, but let's get it. Let's prove all things. All right, because a lot of Jake may not know. When I was growing up, my grandfather and my grandmother, they told me eat the fat. Boy, baby, you gotta eat the fat. It makes your skin shiny. That's exactly what they told me word for word. Eating the fat of animals, of bulls and goats and bullocks, it makes your skin shiny. All right. This is Leviticus. Bear with me. Leviticus chapter 7, verse 23. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, ye shall eat no manner of fat of ox or of sheep or of goat. That's plain upon tables, right? The Lord didn't say eat the fat and be full. Oh, that's an unclean thing. Hey, the fat was also used for something else. All right, that's a whole nother topic, right? But the point is, when you eat it on this Passover, you have to be careful in every single thing you do. In fact, you have to be very meticulous. Again, this is the Lord's body that we're dealing with. Cutting the lamb, right? Making sure that you don't eat the fat. Make sure you don't break the bones. You understand? Making sure you eat of the bitter herbs. If you're not eating of the bitter herbs, you're not really understanding the affliction of not only what our forefathers went through, but also Yahweh Shah Mashiach. All right. Let me get this done. So no eating the fat. You have to be very meticulous in how you eat everything. Now, let me get this other precept in case Jake, because we heard certain Jake said, well, the wine is too sweet. So I'm gonna put a little bit of water in it. All right. This is Second Maccabees. And they might use this verse to justify it. All right. Hey, we've heard it all. We've
Right.
heard it all. So it'll be off if I don't bring this out. Because Jake always try to pull out a precept and say, well, what about this? This is why I did it this way. This is why I did it that way. All right. Stop tangling and wrestling with the scriptures and losing. All right. You 0-6. Keep wrestling with the scriptures, think you know what's going on. Right? Jake might bring this out. This is Second Maccabees 15:39. For as it is hurtful to drink wine or water alone, and as wine mingled with water is pleasant and delighteth the taste, even so speech finely framed delighteth the ears of them that read the story. So certain Jake, they might use his verse to say, well, look, I can add a little bit of wine. It's like I can add a little bit of water to wine. No, you can't do that, especially not for the Lord's uh, for the Passover, which is the Lord's body. You're trying to treat the Lord body like you a fifth grader, in the cafeteria, mixing all the things together. You kind of put the lamb in a wine. You dipping a bit of herbs in there, eating the nice all soggy. You're just being a maniac. You're being a real pervert. You know. Again, this is the Lord's body. So to answer the question again, Khan, like the brother mentioned, Yahweh Shai, he sing the hymns. I don't know if he's going to bring it out, but you definitely shouldn't be listening to heavy metal, something that's real wicked. You know, hey, if possible, brother, you don't have to listen to anything. You understand? It's supposed to be a quick meal. Yahweh Shai didn't bring in a multitude of musicians and damn people who play the instruments and the flutes and the tambourines. Play me a song. That never happened. There's no account. Because again, it's a serious meal. It's a very, very serious meal. Therefore, you should take it seriously. Let me get one more precept. This is the book of Judges, chapter 5, verse 11. And it reads, they that are delivered from the noise of the archers in the place of drawing waters, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. All right. But the point is, we're rehearsing the righteous acts. And if you're not rehearsing the righteous acts, then you're going to be cut off. All right. You on mute.
So like it is same Mark 14-26.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Go on.
All right, this Matthew 14, it's like in Mark 14-26. And when they had sung in hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. So that's plain. All right, so let's move on. Okay, from Cynthia Salakia, Cormier. What does it mean that Yahweh Shai is the firstborn from the dead? Colossians chapter 1 and 18. Let's deal with it. All right, let's go to Colossians chapter 1 and verse 18. This Colossians chapter 1 and 18. It reads, and he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn of the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. So when it says he's the firstborn from the dead, it means He's the son of the Most High, right? So his resurrection supersedes the resurrection of anybody else in time past. Just like on one level, yeah, Esau came out first, and he would be the firstborn son of Isaac. But technically, Jacob is the firstborn because we belong to the Most High. So it's due to the birthright and the promises given to us that makes us the firstborn. So we know that Yahushua is not the literal firstborn, or it's like the first one to resurrect, but he's the firstborn from the dead because he's the son of the Most High God, right? And we're the firstborn from the dead on another level because we're coming out the grave. You understand? We're coming out of these sins. We're coming out of the world. We're coming out of philosophies. We're coming out of doctrines. So on a terrestrial level, being the body of Yahushua, we're also the firstborn from the dead. But Yahushua is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and he's the true firstborn from the dead, right? That's what it means. Now, when you go to, let's go to Revelation 3 and 14 to show him being the first spirit created, right? Revelation chapter 3 and 14. It reads, and unto the angel of the church of the Laodiceans write, these things saith the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of God. So Yahushua is the beginning, the firstborn of the creation of the Most High. And he's the firstborn that rose from the dead. You have something, y'all done?
No, you pretty much got it. He's that
Okay.
firstborn.
Oh, go ahead, Salakia.
No, that was it. That was it.
Come. Yeah, he's just the first. He's the firstborn, and he's the first spirit created. And he's from the dead, and he was resurrected. Okay, King Asher, my family has threatened to drug me and shave me completely. Well, that's a sad thing to hear, right? Lord willing, you endure that affliction, King. What if you're not circumcised? Well, I want to get this in the law, right? What if you're not circumcised? I want to get this first in Exodus 12. Because technically, according to the law, you can't eat at the Passover unless you circumcise, right? This Exodus chapter 12 and verse 43. It reads, and the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every man's servant that is brought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. So you can only, I'm going to jump to 48, 47. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised. Then let him come near and keep it, and he shall be as one born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. So you got to be circumcised. Now, we know a lot of brothers, they're not circumcised. They're not able to afford that operation. I believe it's like $3,500, $4,000. And we always tell brothers, the law is the law. Now, if you want to pray for mercy and you pray to Yahweh Shema Mashiach Rashad, you understand, and you believe in grace and you're fully persuaded in your mind, you understand that you're going to be a partaker of the grace of the Most High with the Passover, then that's on you. But at the end of the day, the law is the law, right? And we always encourage brothers to get circumcised. Not that it'll save you from the destruction to come, but it's an ordinance. And because you also have the circumcision of the heart too, and of the spirit. Let me get that in Colossians chapter 2 and 11. Right? Let's go to the book of Colossians, chapter 2 and verse 11. It reads, in whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, and putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Hamashiach. So you have the circumcision of the spirit too, removing all of the unwanted traits and all of the sins and an old man from your spirit, that you may be a new man in Hamashiach Yahushua. Right? You had some Yardan?
You tackled it. Oh, I got one precept.
Come.
It's Second Maccabees 4 and 17. And it reads, "For it is not a light thing to do wickedly against the laws of God, but the time following shall declare these things." Right? It's not a light thing to do wickedly against the Lord, Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shema Shai. Right? Not saying that, you're willingly not getting circumcised, but again, we always encourage Israel to be circumcised, right? Especially for the Passover, because that's something that has to be done when you're participating in Passover. But like again, like the brother mentioned, outside of that, that's not going to determine your salvation when it's in Judgment Day. We can read about that in Romans, into the entire second chapter of Romans.
That's right. And the brother asks, Barakatah, what does that mean? It means bless you. All right. Barak is blessed. Atah is you. Okay. Next question. The hood vegan. I'm new to the truth and just coming into the live. When is the Passover and what are you supposed to do during it? All right, well, the Passover is April 14th at sundown. That's when Passover comes in. And you're supposed to eat lamb, wine, drink wine, have and eat your bitter herbs and your unleavened bread. Right? Those are the four components of your Passover meal. That's just on the surface level. You're supposed to eat lamb, bitter herbs, drink your wine, and have unleavened bread, but you have to know what the Passover is about. It's not like just a meal to eat, like Taco Tuesday, and then it's leftover Wednesday, then it's Lamb Thursday. You call it Passover Lamb Thursday, and every Thursday you always eat lamb.
Scrap Sunday.
Yeah, scraps. You just eat scraps, whatever's left to clean out the fridge before your damn grandmother throws it away, man. You can't treat the Passover like damn an
like
ordinary meal.
like it's pizza.
Yeah, like it's pizza. There's no you. You have to know what this thing is about. You have to know the spiritual meaning of the lamb, the spiritual meaning of the bitter herbs, the spiritual meaning of the unleavened bread, and why we drink the wine on a spiritual level. Right? So when you read Exodus, the 12th chapter, it gives you the ordinance of the Passover, King. All right. Exodus chapter 12. Read that chapter, it gives you every ordinance of the Passover. Eating your lamb, roast over fire, cooked well done, no crazy seasonings, right? No seasonings, really. I know some brothers do a little bit of salt, right? Your unleavened bread, your bitter herbs, and your wine, kosher wine. All right. So that's just keep it on the surface level. And you brothers, man, make sure you call out of work that day, right? Make sure you're sick that day, if you understand, or you got your paid time off or your unpaid time off. Call out that day, man. If you work April 14th and you work late night shift, graveyard, hey, those are the time to use your vacation hours and use your time off, your sick days, your bereavement. Even on that 15th, use those them hours, man, to get off of the Passover and stop wasting it on the big game because you got drunk Sunday night. So you're going to put in your time to show up late because you was wasted at the bar. You want to freak off Friday before the Sabbath, so you decided to put in your time on Thursday. Now you have no time on the Passover. So you're trying to sneak off in the break room and eat the lamb. All right? That's off, man. Use some wisdom. You can't be sneaking off in the break room or in the bathroom stall, lifting up a black lid from Fridays, man. Calling the asparagus bitter herbs and a damn biscuit unleavened bread. Trying to take your break when nobody else is taking a break. Or try to sit by yourself and throw up the prayers.
Yeah. Somebody come in and just kind of mess around with your food. Can I have one? Can I take a bite? You know how
Yeah.
people are at work. Let me get one. Now they pick some.
So my old boy, you cooking good, man. What you eating on?
And you're not going to say the Passover. You're going to say, oh,
Yeah,
just my meal.
yeah,
You're going to
yeah.
shake your head. Just my meal.
Right. It's my lunch. You know how it is. Then you gotta drink the wine. So where you gonna do that at, brother? At work. And that nasty cup, that coffee cup in the break room. You snuck off in the bathroom. You're doing too. When you put your book bag on from your locker, you went to the big store, the handicap store, and poured up the wine, man. And went back out the break room with a cup in your hand. So you can try to keep the Passover at work. You can't do that.
How you gonna burn? How you gonna burn everything? You gonna
Yeah.
set a fire in the trash can in the back of your job like a bum, and then he gonna fire you.
Woo. Yeah, you gotta you want to keep this thing holy, man. Right? Keep it holy. Let me get the classic in Leviticus chapter 19. Someone set the trash can on fire. That's madness. Right? And use those hours to get off of work, man. You know, you don't have to save it for your son's third grade graduation. Because he's going from third grade to the fourth grade, and you just can't miss it. Right? Let's go to Leviticus 19:1. Or your niece's softball championship, man. Right? This is ridiculous. Leviticus chapter 19:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, ye should be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. Right? Holy, Kodash, set apart. Right? So you take this most serious. And, addressing the brother that asks, you mark that calendar, man. Right? April 14th at sundown, you clear your schedule out. Whatever you have planned going on, April 14th, it's out the window. And you prepare, you make sure you have your lamb. Right? You get your bit of herbs. You can get horseradish, ginger root, dandelion, a mugwort, wormwood. You can get a lot of different bit of herbs. Right? Your unleavened bread, which is simple. Your unleavened bread is made with water, it's like your water, flour, olive oil. Right? I was told, a little bit of garlic salt or salt and some honey. And that's your unleavened bread. And you just throw it in the oven and you have it. All right. So let's move on. Damn, softball championship. All right. See that from Amaziah Yahweh. Search Passover cold cuts to get a breakdown on how to keep the Passover. Right. So anything we don't cover that we may have overlooked or missed, like the brother Amaziah, that's the mighty brother down in St. Louis, WFI, up and coming St. Louis. Just type the cold cuts. If you go on to YouTube and type in cold cuts, and you type in Passover, you should get a good amount of videos pertaining to the Passover. So if you feel as though we didn't get to your, or like if we didn't get to your question, or we may have overlooked it, or you want a more in-depth understanding, then you can go check out these other videos where we kind of go into it. All right, so let's move on to the next question. All right, let's see. All right, let's see. Bear with me. I'm trying to go to these questions. Salakia, bear with us. All right, so the next question. Can a woman, Salakia, sometimes as these questions keep generating from the comment board, they tend to lose, Salakia. Let me get this brother's question. It was first. Some of the questions go away, right? So if this question got overlooked, just ask it again, and we'll get to it most I willing. Can I use flour tortillas for unleavened bread? Yeah, you can technically. That is unleavened bread, But yeah, you can do that. But really, you want to get into this thing. Like I said, you want to get into it. We know people are, sometimes we don't have it financially, and you might just have enough just to get that. If that's your situation, yes. But if you have the means to really make that unleavened bread and get into this thing, then get into it, man. If you have the financial means to buy flour, if you want to buy some honey, some olive oil, right, a little bit of salt or garlic salt, and then you just get down and make it. But if you're in a situation where you don't have access to a stove, or you live with your folks and they don't let you use the stove, or you may not have it financially, then by all means that still is technically unleavened bread. Right? Technically that is unleavened bread. Yardan, you got something to that?
Uh,
Come
I'm gonna try to make a cold cut, a presentation on some ingredients that I know a sister did, and kind of put it up there for Israel should they want to make unleavened bread. 'Cause sometimes Israel just may not know how to make it, you know. So
Come. Now here's the next question, Yardan. You got that one. Can't hear you, King. May just be me.
guys, lucky I was on mute. This is the book of Sirach 38. But first, I'm gonna get Sirach 37. This is Sirach 37:16, and it reads, "Let reason go before every enterprise and counsel before every action." Right? Everybody's pregnancy is a tiny bit different. Um, some things are, real surprising in a sense of there's certain things that sisters can drink and can't drink. When they're when they're having a baby. So that's something that you should want to ask your physician about. Um, let me read it one more time. Sirach 37:16. Let reason go before every enterprise and counsel before every action. So that's something that you should definitely get counsel on. Of course, chiefly with your husband, right? And y'all, take the extra steps to kind of seek out a physician if need be, right? Because we know every sister's pregnancy is not the same. All right. So this is Sirach 38:1. Honor a physician with honor due unto him, for the uses which ye may have of him, for the Lord hath created him. Now we know, of course, Esau is wicked in every manner. He's a wizard and a witch on the left hand side, but yet we still find some informative, not only informative, but certain medicines that can benefit us, right? So that's for brothers and sisters that may say, well, all the hospitals are wicked. Well, when you shot, you want to find yourself before Esau, right? If you broke your arm, you're going to go to Esau, all right? So in certain situations and cases, you're going to have to go to the physician, right? In certain situations. Let me get one more. This is Exodus 12. Bear with me. Oh no, that was it. And my the other answer was Khan, right? Because again, every sister's pregnancy is a little different. Some sisters they can't drink it, right? But for whatever the reason may be, we know certain sisters they can drink it, right? And I'm not talking about a full cup. I'm not talking about the entire damn bottle. I'm talking about just a little bit. You know, the Lord didn't specify drink this much or a liter or two bottles worth, as long as you drink a little bit, right? We know certain kids that may be like 10, 15, they drink just a tiny bit of the wine, right? So that's pretty much it. Because when we read in Exodus 12th chapter, this is Moses really speaking to all of Israel. That's the audience, right? Men, children, and women, right? Including the pregnant woman. Right? They're not exempt from it. And this is what I wanted. Exodus 12:47. all the congregation of Israel shall keep it. That's plain upon tables. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it, right? Whether it be a man, woman, or child, all the congregation of Israel shall keep it. Now, of course, we can't be simple and say, if the baby just came out the womb, you can't give him a glass of yan yan. That's off. We get another precept.
I want to make a quick point on that previous question.
You got it.
Yeah, just it could be a sip of wine. It don't have to, like Yara done said, a whole cup. You understand? But like I said, you want to, if you want to be fully persuaded in your own mind. You want to be fully persuaded in your own mind. I know women that were pregnant that took a small sip of wine, and that was it. They just dealt with the blood of the Lord. They ain't, a lot of people, they not saying this is you, but a lot of people want to kind of get that buzz, right? They want to keep drinking till they feel kind of on, so they can have enough courage to eat the bitter herbs. But you just take that sip of wine, and it's fine. But like Yaradon said, you want to use wisdom too. You want to use the resources that you have available to make sure you're not moving. And the Lord said, be not confident in a plain way too. You don't want to be confident in a plain way. And the Sirach chapter 3:21 on down, really 24, that says an evil suspicion as overthrow your judgment. You don't want to have an evil suspicion too, as if you drink that wine and all hell is going to break loose and it overthrows your judgment. Right? When you really could have just had that sip and you would have fared well. So you want to have that just balance. Sirach chapter 37:14-15. And the Most High said, and above all this, pray to the Most High that he may direct that way in truth. So at the end of the day, you want to pray to Yahweh by Shema Mashak Yahushai that he may direct the way in truth if you seem uneasy when it comes to dealing with that situation. Right? But you got it, Yardon. I just want to make that quick point.
No, that was it.
Okay, come. All right, so the brothers, next question. What is everything that has yeast that must be thrown out? Yeah, I just had a list, man. I had a list I posted on the Cold Cut channel on the previous video. But it's yeast. You have baking soda, you have sodium bicarbonate, you have a lot of different chemical formulas and chemical compounds that's on the back of these foods, pastries, processed food, nutrition labels that you may not think is actual yeast or leaven, but it is leaven. You know, and like I said, I posted that list on a previous video, but if I could find it again, then I'll post it. Right? If I can find that again, I'll post it so brothers can see that through the spirit. Right? What is this? I think a brother sent it. Yardan, you see that?
Kind
You able to show it?
I was going to say, you
Brothers
can
can see
share
it.
it.
I can't share it the way I'm using it now. I'm not using my
Uh,
yeah, or if you want to read them off, it's up to you.
is it facing towards you? Like, is that
Yeah,
readable?
you can see it. It says
Okay.
leaven, baking powder, or at the water for that, brothers. Leaven, baking powder, baking soda, yeast, cream of tartar, sodium bicarbonate, sodium pyrophosphate, sodium acid pyrophosphate, monocalcium, calcium phosphate, vinegar. A lot of brothers, that's debatable. They say vinegar, but vinegar, acetic acid. You got to kind of tap your screen again, King. Ammonium, ammonium bicarbonate, calcium biphosphate, primary calcium phosphate, ammonium hydrogen carbonate. Right? Those are alternative names because this devil's crafty, man. Right? It will have you going off and you thought that you got rid of all that leaven. Let's go to the law. Let's go to Exodus 12. You have to get rid of all that leaven out of your household. And you got to be diligent too, man. It can't be the third day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You found that loaf of bread on the back of the fridge. Talk about, damn, I missed it. Hey, the Most High, he'll destroy you for that, man. You're supposed to take this thing serious. Right? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 12. Actually, let me go to Leviticus first. Right? I won't go to Leviticus 23, then I'll go to that. Right? This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and 5. It reads, dealing with the unleavened bread. And the Passover is really just the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And you're supposed to eat unleavened bread for 7 days. That doesn't mean that's the only thing that you eat, but you incorporate unleavened bread every day during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And you can get creative with unleavened bread recipes. I know sisters, they make unleavened bread tacos, unleavened bread pizza, unleavened bread muffins. They really get creative when it comes to that unleavened bread. So you don't have to sit around and just eat the same style or recipe of unleavened bread. And you want to check too. So during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, it's not the best time to be ordering out and going out to eat and going to Chipotle and ordering the damn deep dish, man. Or going to Chick-fil-A or eating God knows what, man. You don't know what's in that. So you really want to make sure a lot of your food is prepared at home. It's in the house. Right? Because some of that stuff, you can't really get access to all those ingredients. You know it's not pork, but now you're checking for leaven. So you want to be extra careful. Now I want to get this on Leviticus chapter 23. I said I was going to get verse 5. And I'm going to go back to the Exodus. Leviticus 23 and 5. And the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto the Lord. 7 days, ye must eat unleavened bread. You can't say I'm sick of eating unleavened bread. When is this going to be over with? Oh boy, here go the unleavened bread. Oh, damn. You hiding yeast in your kitchen, packets of yeast. You're eating donuts at work because your mind slipped. Nancy brought to the break room, they brought damn glazed donuts. That's Satan, man. And you went and ate a glazed donut talking about, oh, damn, I forgot. It's no I forgot for the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Now, if you want to have unleavened bread for your lunch, and you do it, for your breakfast, for your dinner, but you every day during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you got to incorporate that unleavened bread. All right. Now, I want to go into Exodus, the 12th chapter. Right. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12. Damn donuts from Nancy. This Exodus chapter 12 and verse 18. It reads, in the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. And Yaradan just put the list out there. There's more than one word for leaven. Don't expect to look on the back of anything. It just says leaven. And you say, oh, well, all right, I just throw it to the side. No, you want to double check. And we'll go through the house, man. I'll check, and my rib she'll check, and I may check again. We're going through this thing, man. And you might forgot you had some damn food in your bedroom, man. So you want to check and search this house, man. You want to rifle your house for leaven. Like when a so-called white man, or you seen damn Training Day, when he was looking for the damn bag, when he went to that woman's house, he flipped over the mattress. But like the police, they lifting up the cushion on the couch. Especially if you got children. If you got children, they'll have food in the house. Right? It may be in a bedroom, under their bed. Damn, a old biscuit behind the pillow. If you got kids, you want to double check too, man. They pick up anything and put secret hiding spots and All types of madness. Got their own, they made their own pantry in the closet. So you really want to check, like you the damn SWAT team. And you want to double check too and get rid of that leaven, or even on a physical level. So I want to read on. Exodus chapter 12 and 19. It reads, 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, check out what happens if you eat leavened bread, bread with yeast in it or leavening. Even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. So that's plain. You can't eat nothing leavened. So you want to check thoroughly. And that's on a physical level. And that teaches you to even check within your house on a spiritual level. And your body's a house. So you can't put all of this time and effort and diligence into removing leaven from your physical house. But now you have leaven in your spiritual house. You have leaven in your body. Because that's what this teaches you. On the spiritual level, it teaches you to remove sin, malice, guile, iniquity, deceit, demons from your house, meaning your body, right? Or your house with your wife, your children. You want to analyze and look for that leaven and get rid of it before it destroys you. Because when Yahweh Shah returns, if you have leaven inside of you, you're going to get put to death. You're going to be destroyed. If the Lord comes in, if you have leaven in your house, I'm not talking about a pack of donuts. The mini powder donuts. I'm talking about your body. Because that's what the leaven truly represents. It represents sin and guile. Right? Let's get that in 1 Corinthians chapter 5. And like I said, I did it since 2 weeks ago. Every week, I've been doing an in-depth breakdown on different parts of the Passover. Right? So about 2 weeks ago, I went into the unleavened bread, just focusing on that. This past week, we went into the lamb and the wine. And most I will in this week, we touched on the bitter herbs. And other things that pertain to the Passover. It's right around the corner. Passover is literally 1 month away. And brothers are just finding out about Passover. Or brothers just want to have a fancy garment. You have the mightiest garment, but your lamb isn't even well done. Or you have the mightiest garment, and you're drinking damn Welch's grape juice out of a sippy cup instead of drinking wine. This thing, it's not about having the fanciest garment. It's about keeping the commandments and making sure you get it right. Right? This 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Right? This 1 Corinthians chapter 5. And I'm going to get verse 7. Right? This 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Bear with me. And verse 7. Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Hamashiach, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. So you want to be unleavened during these last days. You don't want no leaven in your body, right? Leaven is sin. Leaven could be doctrine, right? I'm going to get the precept in Mark the 8th chapter, Lord willing. Yahweh Shah said, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of Herod. So if you're ingesting and taking in the so-called white man's worldly ways, false teachings, dealing with the ways of the world, that's you eating leaven. And you're going to be destroyed when Yahweh Shah returns. So you want to really diligently examine yourself and see what that leaven is. Let's read on 1 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 7, 5 and 8. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. See that? So that's how you want to be. You want to be sincere. Make sure you in this truth. You don't have malice in your heart. Malice is hatred that can really turn violent, right? And you don't want to have, it's like your wickedness in your spirit, huh? When you approach the Passover, you want to be clean, right? You want to be clean, man. You want to make sure things are done, things are set up. You want to make sure you examine yourself. You're fasting. You're purging out that leaven, because if you're eating that Passover meal and you haven't purged out that leaven, you're definitely not going to make it. Now I want to get this in Mark the 8th chapter. Like I said, lead us Mark 8:15. This St. Mark chapter 8 and verse 15. It reads, and he charged them, saying, take heed, beware of the leaven. Salakia. Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the leaven of Herod. So Yahushua told him what leaven to watch out for. The leaven of the so-called white man. What's the leaven of the so-called white man? His homosexuality, his Christianity, his philosophies, his politics, his New World Order, surfeiting, hedonism, Babylonianism, American ideologies, holidays, festivities. That's the leaven of Herod, because Herod is the leader of the set up by the so-called white man. He's an Edomite. Herod the Idumean. So when you examine yourself, make sure you're not dealing with the leaven of Herod. Make sure you don't have no so-called philosophies and doctrines and worldly ways in your heart approach that you have learned from the so-called white man. If you're eating a Passover and you're still calling yourself an African American, you have the leaven of Herod. If you're eating a Passover and you're still calling yourself a Spick, right? Or a Mexican, or a Negro, then you shouldn't be eating the Passover. You have leaven of Herod. If you're still smoking weed, going to white man Christian church, women, you're still wearing pants, you have the leaven of Herod. Then, if on the other hand, you may have the leaven of the Pharisees. Hypocrisy. You understand? False doctrine, jealousy, severe envy, covetousness, filthy lucre. That's what they were about. So you want to make sure that you don't have this leaven, man. You might be getting rid of physical leaven at your house, and you're eating leaven all the damn time. You got it, Yardan. You got something?
All
right. So let's move on. Okay, from again in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, 27 through 29. Is breaking bread only for the Passover, or should brothers do it every few Shabbats like the Christian church? Now, I know brothers, they'll do that every Sunday. The Christian church, they'll do it Sunday. I know certain brothers in Israel, I think they do it every Saturday. I know the Catholic Church, they do it I think every Saturday too. They on Mass, if I'm not mistaken. You gotta eat that nasty cracker. And I forgot what that nasty, I think it's called Eucharist. Yeah, which I believe is the Greek. It's Greek for and it translates to the body of Yahushua. See the Greek or Latin, but I believe it translates to the body of Christ. And you also have that cup they make you drink out of. I believe everybody shares the same cup. That nasty cup on Catholic Mass, man. So really, we do it on the Passover, right? We do it on the Passover, focusing on Yahushua's body. All right. So bear with me. All right, let's move on to the next question. I'm not able to get rid of this comment. but that's okay. See if we get to the next question. So the next question is seeker of the truth. Like I said, a lot of these questions got skipped, so we're gonna try to get into it. But being pregnant, I believe we addressed this. Being pregnant, can I drink kosher non-alcoholic wine for Passover? If they I haven't heard of that one. Yeah, but you could drink that, you know. Or we kind of went into it earlier. Let's see. Next question. Okay, from Tonica Germain. What are bitter herbs? You want to deal with that when you're done?
Now that's something I don't want to say Google it. Now you can, but sometimes Google they'll show you some herbs that's not so bitter, right? But for the
Yeah.
most part, if you Google bitter herbs, there's going to be a plethora of herbs that are indeed bitter. Now we got the classics that we usually eat for Passover, and that's horseradish. Some brothers would say dandelion, but
Ginger root.
you got horseradish, you have ginger root. Those are the ones we usually eat every year. But you got some more exotic ones. I can't remember the name of them. I'm gonna have to make a list of those as well.
Yeah. You got wormwood, mugwort.
Wormwood, yep.
Some people say lemongrass, dandelion. You want them really bitter herbs, some harsh bitter herbs.
Yeah, don't get the level one bitter herb that it don't taste like affliction. You're
Yeah,
doing it just to ease your tongue.
like mint. People get mint, little mint leaves.
You're
Because I believe,
cheating.
yeah, I believe if you Google bitter herbs, mint may come up. You're not dealing with mint, right?
Somebody,
Or a cinnamon stick.
somebody said lettuce.
Yeah,
Lettuce is
lettuce.
not a bitter
That
herb.
purple lettuce, just because you normally don't eat it, doesn't make it bitter, right? Or spinach. And no, bitter herbs is straight up. It could be horseradish, ginger root, lemongrass, dandelion, mugwort, wormwood. Those are various forms of bitter herbs. The bitter herbs on a physical level are a reminder of the affliction, right? They're a reminder of the affliction that we experienced in ancient Egypt, even to this very day. And like I always say, you know, you can't put ranch on your bitter herbs, right? You can't put that lemon juice or try to turn it to a salad and you cut diced chicken and carrots and cherry tomatoes. You can't do that. You can't turn it to whatever you want it to turn it to, huh? You eat the bitter herbs and you eat them raw. You don't take your time and chop them and I'm scared, or you turn it to a smoothie. Okay, it's bitter herb smoothie. I'm gonna drink it. No. Now you may say, hold on, look, that why would anybody do that? But we have to clarify. With our people, man, you gotta qualify everything. You have to.
Literally.
Ever since someone asked, can I wear shorts on the Sabbath? We have worked extensively to qualify everything.
I remember that.
Yeah, they said, can I wear, and he was serious. He said, can I wear shorts on the Shabbat? Or is that off? He said, yes, brother, you can wear shorts on the Sabbath, short pants. So I want to get this precept, right? Let's go to the book of Exodus. All right, so you definitely want to have your bitter herbs with your Passover, right? Or your lamb. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 12 and verse 8. And they shall eat the flesh and that night roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. See, when those bitter herbs are a reminder of the affliction. Remember, when you go to Exodus, the first chapter, the Lord said the Egyptians made our lives bitter. Right? This Exodus chapter 1. Right? Exodus chapter 1 and verse 9. It reads, Salakia. So I wanted to get straight to the point. Yeah, I'm gonna get to the point. This verse 14. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. So remember, when you eating this Passover, you want to be in the right mind frame. You want to go into this Passover in the remembrance of Yahweh Shah. You want to go into this Passover thinking about the affliction. A lot of brothers, you don't think about the affliction in Egypt. You're just thinking about seeing everybody, saluting everybody, taking pictures, and turning up. And who's gonna cook the lamb? Right? You asking for more wine. So you can keep getting drunk. And you're complaining about how small the lamb is. You look at your plate, you look at the next brother plate, his lamb is bigger than yours, and now you out the spirit. Yeah, you're just off. You keep getting up, going to the bathroom, throwing away your bitter herbs, put them like nobody knows. You're scarfing down the wine. You're treating the lamb like it's damn a gourmet dinner, and you're cutting it with your knife and you're chewing it, and you crack open a bone and use the bone to scrape up the rest of the lamb juice, and that's off, man. You're going into this Passover. Really, man, when you think about it, all hell broke loose on both Passovers. Many people died in the ancient time. The destroyer came and destroyed firstborn of man and beast. And we read about the first 12 chapters of Exodus every Passover. Matthew 26, Matthew 27. We're going to the 10 plagues. Brothers, you got to know what the 10 plagues are about, man. Challenge yourself to know the 10 plagues by heart prior to Passover. Know the Most High's works. That's what the Most High did for us, man. You don't know what the Most High did for you? You got brothers. Well, I remember the death of the firstborn, but brother, there's 9 other plagues. You don't remember how you got here? What the Lord did for you with a stretched forth hand and a mighty arm for wonderful signs and wonders. So get into those plagues, man. Get into the deliverance. Get into Moses. Get into the law. Right? You got to get into this thing, man. Get into the life of Yahweh Shah. You know? Now, you got it, Yardan.
God, I lost my point. Oh, here's a precept. Wisdom of Solomon. Additions to Esther. Bear with me. Additions to Esther, chapter 10. Verse 8. What's it? Yeah, verse 8. And the nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews. And my nation is this Israel, which cried to God and were saved. For the Lord hath saved his people. The Lord hath delivered us from all those evils. And God hath wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles. Right? Even all of these great signs that the Lord did, it'll behoove you to actually want to know and search them out. There's already wonders and signs that the Lord does that goes completely over our head, or we just may not know about. But for the ones that we do know, that's in front of our face, through the Spirit, if you understand what I'm saying, then that's something that you should really dig deep into. And it's another one in Maccabees, but I have to find it, where Judas was exhorting all of his brothers, right? In the very end, it might be the 13th chapter or the 14th, maybe the 15th, but you got it.
Yeah, even a lot of the Psalms deal with the Passover. Psalms 105, Psalms 106, Psalms chapter 81. You want to get into all of that during the Feast of Unleavened Bread and prior to Passover. Don't think that you just read Wisdom of Solomon. It goes into the plagues of Egypt, chiefly the plague of darkness. You know, and you want to get into that thing too, man. You don't just have to read the book of Exodus. You really want to get into it, and your household should know about it too. You found it, y'all done?
God.
Come.
This is Second Maccabees 15 and 9. And so comforting them out of the law and the prophets, and withal putting them in mind of the battles that they won afore, he made them more cheerful. And leaving Egypt, that's a great sign, and that's something that's worthy to be brought forth when exalting a brother, right? Because again, that's a great wonder that the Lord did amongst Israel. And this is Judas, he's exhorting them from the things that were described in the law and in the prophets. So it's not too hard to believe that Judas is actually bringing up the accounts that was in the book of Exodus. You know,
Yeah, and most I willing, we're going to do a video on the second Exodus, right? Because these days are coming back on earth. Egypt is being smitten with plagues all over again, and Pharaoh is still hardening his heart against the Most High. So what is the Most High going to do? He's going to smite Egypt in the sea all over again. I may do a cold cut on that. When you read Isaiah 27, Isaiah chapter 11, Zechariah the 10th chapter, you go into these different accounts of how the Lord is going to have these plagues happen all over again. Not the exact same literal plagues, but plagues of destruction that are going to be manifest on different levels. So you really want to know why we keep this Passover. You want to get into the history, get into the timelines. Read Genesis, read how we got into Egypt. This is your history, right? Let's go to Psalms chapter 77 and 5, right? Psalms chapter 77 and 5. And like we always say, a lot of our people put a lot of effort into the so-called white man's holidays and learning about it. And you learn about the pilgrims for Thanksgiving, and you learn about Mayflower. You wear costumes, right? You get into it. You do all of the decorations for Thanksgiving. But we don't do that for Passover and the Lord's holy days. You have stepped the Most High's holy days, but in the world, you went all out for the so-called white man days. You were excited. You marked your calendar for the so-called white man's holidays. When it comes to the Lord's holy days, now it's grievous unto you. I want to get this first in Psalms chapter 44. Right? Let's go to Psalms chapter 44. Like I believe I want 42. This Psalms chapter 42 and 4. It reads, when I remember these things, right? David said, when I remember these things. So he was getting into it. When I remember these things, I pour out my soul in me. For I had gone with the multitude, I went with them to the house of God, with the voice of joy and praise, with a multitude that kept holy day. Right? So David didn't go with people that kept nigga day or Thanksgiving day or Christmas day. And it wasn't burdensome to him. He said, when I remember what the Most High did, and he got emotional about it, man. Sometimes when you really in the spirit, when you think about what Yahweh did, and you'll start crying, man. You'll start getting emotional when you start remembering what the Most High did for you in Egypt and how you're unworthy, but the Most High still brought you out of bondage. You're thinking about the deliverance from this second Egypt. You're thinking about this place going down. So Passover really has a solemn spirit behind it. It's the chief holy day, the top holy day. So you really want to take this thing serious. David said, I was excited and I went with joy and praise with them that kept holy day. So you want to go into the Passover excited about it, man. Knowing all of the details. You know about the lamb, right? You know why the lamb was without spot and without blemish, a male of his first year. right? You know why we eat the bitter herbs. You know about the unleavened bread. You know about the timelines and the Pharaoh and Joseph and Moses, right? And the cities and Pithom and Ramses. You kind of getting into it. So let's move on. All right. So the next question: can you drink non-alcoholic drinks for the kids? Yeah, the kids. If the kids have some grape juice, that's fine, right? But you can't be. It doesn't say a particular age limit in the Bible, but maybe if you're like 7, 8, maybe 10 years old, 12 years old and under, you know. But anything, that's my personal opinion, right? You guide your household according to your own discretion. But a sip of wine for anybody maybe 15 and up, 14 and up, they got a sip of wine, right? But if anywhere between 9 years old and under, 10 years old, 11 years old, sometimes 12, then yeah, that grape juice, that'll suffice. So let's move on. You can't be 35 years old, 6'10", and you're 35, you're 6'10", you weigh 290, and you want Welch's out of the grape juice box. Right, brother, just drink the wine. All right, next question. From Kyoko Banyamyan, in case the comment board refreshed, is the Passover meal the only meal allowed on the day in regards to consideration for children? Yeah, so you eat your Passover at evening, but after that evening, remember you want to burn the remains, but also, of course, children can still eat other things, but it can't have nothing with leaven in it, right? They can't have nothing with leaven in it. Now you don't want to eat your Passover, and then 20 minutes later you're eating damn mashed potatoes, right, and meatloaf, and like you want to let it get let it resonate. Right now, if you get hungry later on, because our forefathers were up all night, Yahweh was up all night. They ate the Passover, and they were up all night, man. Even to that following day, they didn't get any sleep. But of course, if you got to eat, then you have to eat. Make sure there's no leaven in it, right? Let me get this in Exodus 12. Right, let's go to Exodus chapter 12. Right, this is the book of Exodus dealing with the remains would have to be burnt. This is Exodus chapter 12, Salakia, and verse 10. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning, ye shall burn with fire. You see that? So everything else has to be burnt with fire. Right? All your lamb and everything that remains, so you can't have leftovers. So if the kids get hungry and it's the following day, they can't be eating the lamb because that lamb should be burnt with fire because you have to eat it that night. All right, you can't carry it over. So next question from Edelyn: what do I do when your husband hates you and is in WAN? Okay, hold on. And wants like you. What do I do when your husband hates you and wants to move on and find better than the mother of his children and wife? Okay, well, if your husband hates you, let me get the scripture real quick. Right? Yeah, that's a serious question. Yeah. So if that's a serious thing right there. Right? The Lord commanded husbands to love their wives. Let me get that verse in Ephesians before I get that other precept. Right? This is Ephesians, the 5th chapter. Right? Let's get this in Ephesians chapter. And there's no better example of marriage in the Bible outside of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai in the church. Yes, you have Abraham and Sarah, you have Tobit and Anna, you have Isaac and Rebecca. We know that, but it doesn't top Yahweh Shai in the church. Right? This Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 27. It reads, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. So if you hate your wife, that means you hate yourself, right? Because y'all are one flesh. So you got demons on him, you know. He has spirits on him, demons on him. If you love your wife, you love yourself. If you hate your wife, you hate yourself. Y'all are one flesh in the spirit. Now, about now dealing with the terms of the personal aspect of it, how do you deal with your husband um actually physically hating you? Let's go to the book of Genesis, right? You have to remember that Leah, she wasn't favored. The text actually says that she was hated, right? In Genesis, when you deal with the relationship between Jacob, Rachel, Leah, and yeah, Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. Now, I want to get this in Genesis chapter, I believe, 29 and verse 30. This Genesis chapter 29 and 30. And he went also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. So Jacob loved Rachel more than he loved Leah, right? They were both his wives. Because remember, Jacob originally, he desired Rachel, but he ended up dealing with Leah first. Leah was actually his first wife. It reads, and when the Lord saw that Leah was hated. So the Lord sees that you're being hated right now, right? You're not bearing this alone. It's not a secret. You understand? The Most High's watching this transpire, right? He sees the spirits and the demons on your husband. He sees the affliction. And I'm going to get another precept, Most High willing, to Sirach, the 35th chapter. He sees the tears. He sees the mourning. And the Lord saw that Leah was hated, man. And what happened after that? And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb. But Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son and called his name Reuben, for she said, surely the Lord, surely Yahweh, this is what she said, surely Yahweh, Bashmiawashai, hath looked upon my affliction. Right? Now, therefore, my husband will love me. So the Lord sees that affliction and he looks upon it and rewards you. Right? The Lord he's not going to let any one of his saints suffer. When I say suffer, I mean unjustly. Right? He'll vindicate you. He'll separate you from that situation. You understand? He'll remove you if it has to be that way. He'll judge your husband. But you have to abide that affliction. That also is the condition of the battle, too. You know? That's the hand that the Most High dealt you. That's Second Ezra chapter 7 and 57 on down. And this is the condition of the battle that man that is born upon the earth shall fight. So, you can expect when you come into this truth for everything just to be perfect. Everybody's marriages are going to be the same. Right? Everybody's marriages are going to be on 10. You may have came into this truth, and your lot may have to be in a marriage where you deal with a man who may already have children, right? Or you deal with a man who's lukewarm, or a man that hates you. That's the man that the Most High gave you. Now you dealing with that affliction. You didn't know it was going to be like that, but this is the condition of the battle. This is you going through the fiery furnace, right? Now I'm just giving you the spiritual aspect of it before we get on a personal aspect. This is Sirach, the 35th chapter, right? This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 35 and verse 13. He will not accept any person against the poor man, but will hear the prayer of the oppressed. And you can be oppressed at a job. You can be oppressed in a relationship. You can get beat down, verbally and mentally abused, despised. You're supposed to keep praying to Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. You could pray for your husband that the Lord removes that demon from him. You could pray that the Lord allows you to endure that affliction. It reads, Slakia, he will not despise the supplication of the fatherless, nor the widow when she poureth out her complaint. Do not the tears run down the widow's cheeks, and it's not her cry against him that Slakia causeth them to fall. He that serveth the Lord shall be accepted with favor, and his prayer shall reach unto the clouds. So you have to remember that, look, the Most High is a witness to this, and your prayers are going to pierce the clouds. It reads, the prayer of the humble pierceth the clouds until it come nigh. He will not be comforted and will not depart till the Most High shall behold to judge righteously and execute judgment. So the Most High is going to reward you according to your suffering that you deal with. And like I said, sometimes that's just going through that furnace of affliction. Reaching out to other sisters as well, having a strong, what's the word I'm looking for? Having a strong relationship with other sisters too helps, that can comfort you, who may have experienced situations like that in the world or even in this truth. You understand, being amongst the congregation of support to have your back and stir up your spirit to encourage you as well. That's another good thing, because when you're by yourself, it's a lot more painful, But when you have a strong sisterhood or a congregation, they're there to uphold you and deal with you. Now, if you want to email sister, and if most High willing, if y'all want to do a council, most High willing, we can go further into detail and actually see what's actually going on and get down to the root of the matter. But most High willing, you endure that situation, and that spirit leaves your husband, and you abide in that furnace of affliction, because it's only there to purify you through the spirit. And if it's really, but if it's to the point, sometimes hatred could turn to physical abuse and things of that nature. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where your life is hanging in the balance, or you're suffering physical harm. You want to remove yourself from that situation, right? That would be a wise thing. That's Proverbs 22:3. If it's at that point, but you want to get counsel before that thing happens too. That's why I said email, so we can get down to the bottom of the matter. All right, so let's move on to the next question. All right. I bought Shaw Yahweh. Can you put honey in your unleavened bread according to Leviticus 2:10? Right, let's deal with it. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 2 and 10. Bear with me. I'll start at 7 to get the context. And if by oblation, this is an offering, be a meat offering, baking in a firing pan, it should be made with fine flour and with oil. Right, a meat offering is like cakes, if you can understand. And thou shalt bring the meat offering that is made of these things unto the Lord, and when it is presented unto the priest, he shall bring it unto the altar. And the priest shall take from the meat offering a memorial thereof, and shall burn it upon the altar. It is an offering made by fire for a sweet savor unto the Lord. And that which is left of the meat offering shall be Aaron's and his sons. It is a thing most holy of the offerings of the Lord made by fire. So your Passover unleavened bread, I'm gonna jump down to 11. I believe that's what you want to. No meat offering which ye shall bring unto the Lord shall be with leaven, for ye shall burn no leaven nor any honey in any offering of the Lord made by fire. So that's dealing with a meat offering, but your unleavened bread is not a meat offering, right? That's not being put upon the altar, so that doesn't apply to that. That's why when you go to I'm gonna get this precept in the Apocrypha in Esdras, right? This first Esdras chapter 1 and 19. So the children of Israel, which were present, held the Passover at that time and the feast of sweet bread 7 days. And such a Passover was not kept in Israel since the time of the prophet Samuel. So another title for the Feast of Unleavened Bread was the Feast of Sweet Bread. So what made the bread sweet? Honey, right? It wasn't sugar or artificial sweetener, right? So another title, according to Ezra and our forefathers, for the Feast of Unleavened Bread was the Feast of Sweet Bread. So you could deal with honey. But if it was a meat offering in the ancient world with fine flour mingled with oil and things of that nature, then no. You know. So let's move on. Let's see. Next question. Bear with me. Okay, from the LP production. If you guys are keeping Passover on a Thursday night, does that mean we will have 2 days of a Sabbath? Yeah, so your Passover is treated as a Sabbath. It's a holy. I'm gonna get it in the law in Leviticus 23. So Thursday night to Friday night. That's a good question. Thursday night to Friday night is your Passover. Friday night is your actual Sabbath day, right? Your actual Sabbath that falls throughout the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? That's a good question, right? Let's go to Leviticus chapter 23, right? Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 5. In the 14th day of the first month at even, it's the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month, it's the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto the Lord. 7 days he must eat unleavened bread. And the first day ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. Meaning you can't do any work for hire, right? You can't do any work for hire, meaning your actual job or painting the fence or cutting the grass. That's servile work. Any work that has to be done, it goes into prepping the food and cooking the food. Can't do any work outside of that. It reads in verse 7. And the first day ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye should do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. And the seventh day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. Right? So yeah, you have your Passover comes in, no buying and selling, no work, and then you have your actual but that day is no servile work. When your Sabbath comes in, that's no work at all. You know? So we can move on to the next question. Right? Bear with me. Right? So here's the next question. Let's see. Bear with me. Next question. Are we allowed to work on the Passover? No, you're not allowed to work on the Passover. No, you can't hide the leaven in the closet. Right? All right, next question. Let's see. Do we from LP production, do we take the whole week off for Passover? Are we allowed to work on the other days after Passover day? If you have the means to take the whole work week off, by all means do so. Right? I would never stop a brother from taking that whole week off if he has the means to do so. Right? If not, I know we this captivity is tight. Hours don't come easy. So you really want to get off of that Passover, but if you have the means to do so, all praise to Yahweh Shema Mashak Yahusha. All right, next question. Let's see. Bear with me. Does the burning of the leftovers include the bone? Yes, the burnings of the leftover includes the bone. All right, next question. What does Ephesians, from Linda Taylor, what does Ephesians chapter 4, 29 through 30 mean? Right? What does Ephesians chapter 4, 29 through 30? So this is Ephesians chapter 4. Bear with me. 29 through 30. It reads, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of the Most High, whereby ye are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. That's plain, right? That's plain. It's just, that's self-explanatory, right? You just be mindful of the words that you speak and the spirit that you're in, right? Backbiting, slander, clamors, excessive speaking. Evil speaking is slander, whispering, murmuring, being a busybody, right? Blasphemy. All of that is evil speaking. Lies are evil speaking. You want to just remove those evil spirits, which are really just demons, from you when you come into the grace of Hamashiach Yahushua, right? These are the attributes of a new creature in the Lord. And those spirits that the Most High mentioned, from clamor to bitterness, evil speaking, anger, wrath, it's not a sin to be angry, but it's a sin to hold on to that anger. And it's a sin to be, it's off to be hasty in your anger. That's Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and 6 on down. So these are just spirits that you want to try to mitigate as the day of Passover approaches, or really ultimately for the kingdom of heaven's sake and your own salvation. All right, next question. Let's see. Can we give the leftover to our dogs instead of burning? No, you have to burn it. Right? You can't give it to your dogs. You have to burn it. That's the law. Okay, let's move on. So I can bear with us. Next question. Can I eat rice or chicken that was already cooked? For the Passover, you have to have lamb, right? You have to have lamb for the Passover. You can't have rice or chicken that's already cooked. All right, we went into that. All right, may I please get the email? So the email is Watchman, right, for Israel 77 at gmail.com. That's the email. WATCHMEN, all right, Watchman for FOR Israel ISRAEL, right, 77 at gmail.com. All right, so that's the email. From King Trey. Someone told me that we're not married through sex, and everything had to be in writing. Tobit chapter 7, 13 through 14. Can you clear this up for me, Thawada? Right, let's clear it up. Now, it's a wise thing and profitable thing to have your marriage in writing. And if you do that, all praise to the Most High, you'll run into less problems and things will be done in an expedient manner for both families. Now, can you say you have to do it or you'll be destroyed? No. You have countless marriages and various ways of being married in the ancient world, right? Taking a woman captive. When you read Genesis chapter 16, when Abraham dealt with Sarah, there's no account of the instruments of covenant, right? Where's the account of Noah and his wife having instruments of covenant and bringing that on the ark with him to confirm their marriage? Or Isaac and Rebekah? There's no account, So you have different ways that people may get married. Now, the standard would involve the instruments of covenant, but not every situation was like that. That's why it's not written in the law that you need that to get married. Now, it's a wise custom, and all praise to the Most High, right? But you don't want to add or take away from the law, right? And that's where things kind of get great for people. This is Genesis chapter 16 and verse 3. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife. So where's the instruments of covenant? What does it say Abraham wrote it? All right. Where's Hagar's father and mother at to make this thing official? No, she's just the concubine. So there's no need for instruments of covenant because she's Abraham's possession by default. Right? If you own somebody, that's already established. So you don't need an instruments of covenant for a slave that you own, a concubine. So you don't need it all the time because every marriage was different. There were plenty of ways to get married. I named a few. That's one of them. Right? Let's get another one. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 21. And I'm going to deal with Tobit. I'm going to go back to Tobit. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 21. Yeah, when Jacob married Leah and Rachel, there's no account of Laban giving an instruments of covenant. That didn't happen. This is Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse, I'm going to get straight to the point. And 10. When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that, thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. So that's plain, right? That's how you marry that particular woman, a woman of the other nations. She doesn't have a father or a mother to write an instrument of covenant or to receive an inheritance. She is your inheritance, right? You own her. So that's essentially the same concept of Abraham and Hagar. Let's go to Genesis chapter 24. Right? Genesis chapter 24. Just letting you know how our forefathers got married in various ways. Genesis chapter 24 and 67. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Right? So Abraham, he paid a dowry essentially to receive Rebekah. He gave bracelets, right? He gave jewelry as a token to Bethuel to show that, look, this is what your daughter's going to be involved with. She's going to be involved with a wealthy man. Right? Abraham sent the servant Eliezer with a great train of horses, camels, bracelets, and jewelry. That's a dowry price. So you would pay a dowry for a woman in certain instances to receive your wife. And then that husband will have to take that dowry, which is a bride price, and give that daughter unto that man. That's how Rebekah was exchanged, essentially, to Laban. And there are many ways that men got married. If you were a valiant man, and the husband or the father put that decree out there for you to show your valiantness to take his daughter unto wife, that can be done too. That happened with Caleb. Caleb said, let me get this in the book of Judges. Caleb said, whoever goes and slay these men, they could have my daughter to wife. So you didn't really have to pay a dowry for Caleb's wife. You have to show yourself valiant in war. Right? Let's get this in the book of Judges. So I'm just showing you different examples of marriage, right, in the ancient world. Now, this is Judges, bear with me, chapter, Slocky, bear with me. This is Judges chapter, I believe I want, let's see, bear with me. 1. 1 and 12. Judges chapter 1 and 12. And Caleb said, Salakia, and Caleb said, he that smiteth, bear with me, he that smiteth Kirjath Sepher and taketh it, to him will I give Akash my daughter to wife. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it, and he gave him Akash his daughter to wife. So he didn't have to have no instruments of covenant. He said, if you kill this man, hey, this is your wife. It is what it is. That, like I said, marriage happened, so many different ways. That's why there's no set law in that thing. All right. Now, in Tobit, that's a beautiful example and a beautiful way of getting married. And all praise to the Most High. That's the most expedient way for brothers and sisters to get married. But if you say you don't have one, it's a sin. Now you're playing with fire. It's a beautiful thing to do that, right? The Lord said, deliver all things in writing. That's a custom. You understand? Now let's go to Tobit, right? And really that's saying without bringing sin or exchange, right? Things that are exchanged on the level. But you can apply that to Tobit. So let's go to Tobit, the 7th chapter. Right, let's deal with it. This is the book of Tobit, chapter 7, and I want to get verse 13. It reads, then he called his daughter Sarah, and she came to her father, and he took her by the hand and gave her to be his wife to Tobias, saying, behold, take her after the law of Moses, and lead her away to thy father. And he blessed them. And Edna, his wife, now when it says according to the law of Moses, that goes back to Deuteronomy chapter 25. Because Tobias really was the nearest of kin. So he would have to raise up seed. Because remember, she had other husbands that died. And he was the nearest of kin, and she belonged to him by right of marriage. So that's what it means after the law of Moses, according to the inheritance, even in Numbers of the 36th chapter. It reads, and Edna, and called Edna his wife, and took paper and did write an instrument of covenant and sealed it. Then they began to eat. So that's the instruments of covenant, right? Within that covenant is detailed what happens in that marriage. It can be certain orders from the father, right? The father could say, okay, look, this is official if you do A, B, and C, right? When I die, you receive this many oxen. If I go here, you take over this possession. If you are to take my daughter, you cannot mistreat her, right? You cannot do A, B, and C. Even Laban said that. Now, that wasn't in writing. That was a verbal contract between Laban and Jacob. Laban said, hey, if you have my daughters, you can't take no other wives. Now, originally, that's supposed to be written down, but the way that situation happened, things got bad fast, and things wasn't done the right way between Jacob and Laban. So they kind of tried to make it a little bit more official when Jacob stole away. Let's get that in Genesis chapter 31. Right? Let's get that in Genesis, the 31st chapter. This is Genesis chapter 31 and verse, I'm going to get to the point, 43. It reads, and Laban answered and said unto Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant, I and thou. Now this was already supposed to be done, but Laban was too busy robbing Jacob. So now he want to try to make things right. So what should have been done, written down for an instrument of covenant, is now being done right now. But instead of it being written, it's a verbal thing. And that counts too, right? It reads, yeah, you can, you can have a covenant bound by your word. That's what an oath is. You don't have to write an oath out to the Most High for it to be valid. You're bound by your word. That's how the ancient men were. That's what an oath is, or a testimony. Or yeah, that's really pretty much what that is. Or when you swear, you're bound in your words, or a vow. A vow is not written down, but your words, you're held accountable for those words. Right? So this is what a covenant is, and that's what's happening between Jacob and Laban, which should have been written on paper, is now being bound by the words of these men on a covenant. So let's read this. These are the statutes of how Laban wants his marriage to go down, pertaining to his daughters Rachel and Leah. Genesis chapter 31 and verse 44. Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap, and they did eat there upon a heap. Because ancient covenants was really with a meal, right? You kicked off a covenant with a meal. That's why when you read it's like in Luke chapter 22, Matthew 26, that Yahweh's blood and that new covenant is being kicked off essentially with a meal, right? The Passover. When you read in the law in Exodus chapter 33, Exodus chapter 34, that essential old covenant has a meal with the 70 elders and Moses, right? So ancient covenants was really done with a meal too, you know? And there was another example I'm thinking of, but, it escapes me. So they did eat. It reads, bear with me. And Laban called it Jergoth Sahudatha, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, this heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. Reading on. And Mizpah, for he said, the Lord watch between me and thee, when we are absent one from another. If thou shalt afflict my daughters. So this was supposed to be written down, but they didn't have time because Jacob stole away and Laban was robbing him. So he said, if thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness betwixt me and thee. So a father could say that in a marriage. He said, look, yeah, you can have my wife. Have my daughters, but you can't take no other wife. And if you take another wife, this contract is over. You violate this covenant. And the husband, he had to make that decision. He had to say, okay, is it worth it? Do I really want to do that? Because he may have had in his mind, he wanted another wife, but he may have wanted that first wife so much. He said, okay, look, I'll do that. Right? I'm willing to take that chance. I won't take another wife. I won't afflict your daughters. Right? Reading on. And Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold this pillar, which I have cast betwixt me and thee. So, that's the account of that. I'm not going to read that whole account, but that's marriage, right? Dealing with the instruments of covenant. All right. Next question. From Nick's house, and how long are you supposed to fast? Well, a typical fast is 24 hours, right? That's based off of the Day of Atonement. Let's get down Leviticus chapter 23. Right? This Leviticus chapter 23 and 32. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even. From even unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. So that's your standard fast. You have certain accounts where men fasted to the evening. When King Saul died, David and his house, they fasted to the evening. So there are different instances like that, but the standard fast is sundown to sundown. Why is the Passover April 14th instead of March 14th? Because that's how the new moons work, right? Your first new moon comes in March 31st at sundown. So you count your 14 days after that, and that's when your Passover comes in. I'm not going to answer that question. That's complete folly, right? Would it be going off to add salt to the lamb for the Passover? We don't add anything to our lamb. I know certain brothers they add a little bit of salt, so that's that's uh that's not bad. Right, I'll say that. If you add a little bit of salt, that's fine. Right, but you don't want to get crazy with it. Baking soda toothpaste, should I throw it out? What I mean, you want to make sure that those ingredients aren't found in anything in the house. So really leavening agent. So if you look on that and it has anything on those leavening agents in it, then get rid of it. All right. Do you think Jacob's trouble and pestilence are coming soon? Well, pestilence is already here, and Jacob's trouble is coming soon. All right. Next question. Let's see. When I'm being serious or angry, I seem to scare people. When serious people think I'm angry, when angry people think I'm crazy, and I'm doing nothing but talking with a little bass. Is that an evil spirit on me? Well, if Yahweh Shah is austere. If you just have an austere countenance, that's not an evil spirit. If you're holding hatred and malice, then yeah, that's an evil spirit. If you're always walking around and can't nobody deal with you or have a conversation with you, then you want to examine yourself. Right? You read about Nabal, it says this is a man that nobody could talk to this man. You don't want to be that brother when nobody could talk to you. All right, let me get that in 1 Samuel 25. All right, you want to be approachable for your people. All right, let's get this in. The Lord said, "He that hath friends must show himself friendly, too." Nobody will want to be around you if you're walking around looking like a madman all day. Now we know certain brothers, their countenance is naturally fixed like that, but their spirit shows otherwise. This 1 Samuel, right, chapter 25 and verse. Let's see. 17. 1 Samuel 25 and 17. Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master and against all his household, for he is such a son of Belial that a man cannot speak to him. So you don't want to be a brother when nobody can speak to you out. All right, you want to be approachable, but it's okay to have that look if it's natural. You don't want to force it. Right, but that if that's your spirit, you got a deep voice, you got a little bit of bass in your voice, and it is what it is. You know. So let's move on. Okay, from Clayton G, it reads, for Passover, doesn't the lamb represent Yahweh Shah? That's right. That's right. Wouldn't the symbols change to unleavened bread and wine? It's the foot washing, as is described in John 13, 3 through 16, to be observed for Passover also. No, you don't have to wash, you don't have to physically wash anybody's feet for Passover. That's a spiritual thing. All right, let's get that in John 13. Right? Let's go to John chapter 13. Yeah, you don't have to carry a basin with you and throw the towel over your shoulder. And you start taking off brothers' boots and shoes on a Passover. And they ask, what are you doing? You say, look, just relax. And you start washing their feet. That's absurd. It's just downright absurd. Right? Let's get that in John chapter 13. A lot of things Yahweh Shah did were spiritual. Right? They were physically done. We understand that, but they had a deeper spiritual meaning behind it. Right? You can't go and flip over the tables because you're mad on the Passover. That's not you. That's Yahweh Shah. You can't go and whip people. All right, let's go to John chapter 13. This is John chapter 13 and verse 3. It reads, no, Yahweh Shah, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he was come from the Most High, and went to the Most High, he riseth from supper and laid aside his garments, and took a towel and girded himself. After that, he poureth water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. So that's symbolic for him washing them with the word, right? Cleansing them from their sins and iniquities, showing the humility and the meekness of how we're supposed to cleanse our people too. That's the way that we cleanse our people, with a humble humility, or humble and a spirit of humility and sincerity. It reads, because the water is symbolic for the word. That's Ephesians 5 and 26, Isaiah 1 and 16 on down, Psalm chapter 119 and 9, John chapter 15 and 3, plenty other precepts where the water is symbolic for the word. It reads, then cometh he, Salakia. So he's washing the feet. Let me touch on that point, because the feet are symbolic for your steps and walk in his truth. That's why Yahweh Shah said, or the Most High said, keep thy foot when thou comest to the house of the Most High. Because when you approach the house of the Most High, you want to remove any impurities and filth in your feet, on your feet, right? Not more so on a physical level, but on a spiritual level, right? You don't want to bring abominable things and doctrine and philosophy and demons to the house of the Most High, right? You're stepping in spiritual filth. You're stepping in doctrines. You're stepping in hatred. You're stepping in malice. You want to lay all that to the side and keep your feet. You wash yourself before you come to the house of the Most High on a spiritual level. Even the Lord told Moses, loose the sandal or the shoe from off thy feet, for where the place without standards is holy ground. And it says, and Moses or Joshua did so. So the Lord commanded them to do that because the Lord's place is holy. And Moses, I'm going to get the account, he was living a life of the Egyptians and the Midianites, raised up under their lifestyle and raised up under their customs. So him taking his shoe off his feet is symbolic for him letting go the steps he took within that lifestyle, because now he's dealing with holy ground. That's why the feet and that context are so important, you know. And that was done in the ancient world. Anytimes you would go to somebody's house in the ancient world, if they were hospitable, they would wash your feet, or give you a basin or water to get your feet washed, seeing that we wore sandals. Now, let's go to Exodus. Right? Let's go to Exodus and let's deal with it. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 3 and verse 4. Right? Exodus chapter 3 and 4. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, the Most High called unto him out of the midst of the bush, and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, here am I. And he said, draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. So now that's Moses beginning to walk in the ways of the Lord. So the Lord washing the apostles' feet is symbolic for their steps and the truth as they follow Yahweh Shah, being purged from iniquity and purged from sin. Even in the law, when you go, and I'll get this account too, when you go to Deuteronomy chapter, I believe that's 25, and I'll get that account about a Liberian marriage. When a man dies, the brother has to go into that woman and raise up seed to his brother. If he decided not to, then the woman would spit in his face, and his name would be the house of him who had their shoe loosed. So let's get that in Deuteronomy 25. Because he decided not to walk in the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. Right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 25 and verse 7. Straight to the point. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuseth to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of his city shall call him and speak unto him And if he stand to it and say, I will not take her, then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders and loose his shoe from off his foot. So everybody knows what type of spirit this man is in. He's not walking in the law. He's not walking in the spirit of Yahweh Shah. He's not walking in the way of brotherly love. So the Lord said, okay, we'll loose his shoe from off his foot. So everybody knows physically what's being done and what it means on a spiritual level. And spit in his face. So the Lord told this woman to spit in his face, man. And this is a big deal. Everybody's watching this. All of the elders are out. And this guy's son might have been out there. You know? And I'm led to believe she hacked that thing up from the bottom of her damn nostrils and throat and spit in his face. And rightfully so. And shall answer and say, so shall it be done to the man that will not build up his brother's house. So if you're not building up your brother's house, and the Lord's going to remove you from this thing on a spiritual level. All right? He's going to turn your steps aside and have you walk in the filth and the pollutions of the world. If you don't want to build up your brother's house, even on the spiritual level. All right? So that's why the loosening of the shoe is symbolic in the feet. Right? Even in the law, you can read about the Lord putting blood on the right toe of Aaron. You know? And on his thumb, it's like his toe and his ear, right? And that's all symbolic. The Lord putting blood on the toe is symbolic for your steps and his service of the Levites and the ministry and tabernacle being sanctified. You know? So that's where the Lord put the blood on the toe. I have to get that exact precept, but we can read about it in the law. All right. So let's go back to these questions. All right, bear with me. I want to get back to these questions. Slakia. Okay, bear with me. My family say that I am a demon, and they watch my videos because they say that my dad was evil. All right. When I get mad, they use it as a weapon against me. So I've been dealing with that too. Well, Lord willing, you endure that, brother. Right? You endure that affliction, and you pray that Yahweh Shema Shai keep you in the spirit, and you remind yourself that this is an easy thing in the sight of the Lord, man, to make a poor man rich. And I'm speaking about on a spiritual level. You know, that you can abound in faith, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You know, and the Lord said in Hebrews chapter 12 and 6 on down about chastening his son. So a lot of times a lot of affliction we deal with, it's the Lord chastening you. You know, your family rising up against you, that's prophecy. That happened to Job. That happened to Yahweh Shah. Right? This Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 6. I'll read 5. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. Meaning what? You have to take this correction. All right, that's the Lord building you up. The Most High said in Sirach chapter 2 and 1 on down, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. Because you'll be in a lower state. Right? You'll always be in a lower state. Even Job told his wife, shall we not receive shall we only receive good of the Lord and not receive evil, paraphrasing. So the Most High will put you in a lower state to try you. Rather that's an emotional lower state. Like the sister said, her husband hates her. You know, that's being in the lower state emotionally. You might not have no money. That's being in the lower state financially. The Lord said, be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. And whatever you deal with, whatever's brought upon you, take it cheerfully. For as gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So the Lord's going to throw you through adversity and see how you're going to deal with it. Are you going to fold? Is your family going to be the reason that you get sifted out? Or is that the reason why you burn more fire and stay hard in this truth? Because now you realize that's the Most High trying you through the fire and dealing with you. Now I want to get this in Job, the first chapter. Right? This is Job chapter 1. It's like I really want to. This Job chapter 2 and verse 10. But he said unto her, Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of the Most High? And shall we not receive evil? And all this did not Job sin with his lips. And that's another thing we got to understand in this truth. When you come into this truth, expect evil from the Most High. Embrace it. Everything's not going to be good. Your marriage isn't always going to be good. Your financial means isn't always going to be good. How you pray and how you serve the Most High, you'll have doubts in your mind, and sometimes you're feeling slothful and demons will hop on you. That's the Lord giving you evil. And you have to understand and keep these precepts in your mind. So, okay, look, I remember that from Job chapter 2. Okay, the Most High tested Job. Oh, he did Abraham. Okay, this is the fire. This is what I'm dealing with. All praise to Yahweh Bashmel Washai. Right? So that's what that's about, King, about going through the fire and embracing the fire and suffering. This truth is about suffering too. Right? Long suffering. You have to learn how to suffer. You have to love suffering too. As much as you love prosperity and as much as you love success and mirth, you have to love when the Most High fails you. You have to learn when the Most not fails you as in he's not there for you. He puts you through the fire. That's what I mean. Right? Or when you try something and you fall short of it, you have to learn and love or learn how to love when you're dealing with all matter of affliction. That's how you know you're really seasoned in this thing. When you're suffering and you love it. Right? And it may sound crazy to a carnal man. What do you mean I have to love how to suffer? That's sick. No, that's a wise man. Right? Because now, then the Lord said in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, right? Let me get this in Ecclesiastes chapter 7. If you're always having a good time, and you're always having fun, you're going to grow to be weak. If you're always in the house of mirth, in the house of laughter, you'll never learn anything. You'll never gain experience. You'll never go through trials and tribulations. You'll never understand what adversity is or the concept of overcoming. All you know is mirth and fun and love. You'll be a fool. So you have to deal with the Lord will put you through the fire. And you have to be in the house of mourning. Let's get that in Ecclesiastes 7. That's another thing about this truth, man. The Lord will put you in the house of mourning if he loves you. See, the world, they're in the house of mirth. They're having fun. You know, the pandemic is pretty much subsiding and doors are opening back up and restaurants, you know, business is booming and people are going back to the park with their kids and, you know, it's like stores are opening up and people are having fun. They're in the house of mirth. They're going to weddings, clubs, bars, getting drunk. But they don't learn anything from the Most High. They don't understand what the prophecies coming to pass. They don't understand about Jacob's trouble and the sound of grinding is going to be brought low. But if you're in the house of mirth, you got a lot of time to think. All right, let me get that in Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 4. I'll start at 3. Boy, I'll start at 2. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and 2. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. For that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. So you have to go to the house of mourning. Get out the house of mirth all the time and suffer and embrace all the negative things in your life and see where the Most High is afflicting you and meditate on it. Absorb it because it's going to make you stronger as you begin to slowly overcome it. You know, you got to love when the Most High throw you that curveball, man. You know, when the Most High turn that heat up on you. That's how you know the Most High is really purging you. It reads, Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance, the heart is made bitter, or the heart is made better. Yeah, and a lot of people that are you may go to the bar, or you may even show it on TV sometimes. Those guys at the bar, they always drinking, but they may drop words of wisdom. They always got their head down. They're loners. Those guys, they know some stuff. But the people are always having fun, taking shots of liquor, getting drunk. They don't know that, or dealing with mirth. They don't really know too much. You know, this thing isn't always about having fun, man. The Lord said, "He that increaseth in wisdom and knowledge increaseth in sorrow and grief." Paraphrasing Ecclesiastes 1:18. So the more the more grief you're going to have in this truth, and the more sorrow. So it's completely normal for your family to be against you and for you to feel down, right? You use that to your advantage. You embrace it and understand that's the Most High dealing with you. It happened to Yahweh Shai, it happened to Job, it happened to all of our fathers, right? I'm going to go to verse 4. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. So mark them brothers who always trying to have fun, always want to turn up and have a good time, right? You want to be around a brother who's in the house of mourning sometimes. He's sitting in there, he's meditating, he's thinking about Jacob's trouble. And people don't want to be around that guy. They'll say, "You're bringing us down. You're so depressing and dark. Every time you talk about prophecy and destruction and all hell breaking loose. You keep talking about the guillotines. Why don't you live a little? You keep talking about massive death and bombs dropping and great bloodshed. A lot of people don't want to be around that guy, man. You know? But if you're a wise man, you want to be around that guy. Because he's gonna keep it real with you and let you know what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. You know? So let's move on. Next question. What does Deuteronomy chapter 23 and 7 mean? I was reading this the other day and it kind of caught me, but I don't like Esau or what he's done to our people in the earth. So Deuteronomy 23 and 7, thou shalt not abhor Edomite, neither shalt thou abhor an Egyptian, for he is thy brother. Paraphrasing. So meaning you can't do abominable things to the Edomites. You can't slit their throats right now, break their cars and break their arms. That's what it means. Because the Lord knows Jake, and Jake wants to, get down on Esau at any given second. So the Most High kind of restrained that spirit, said, "Look, you can't do that." Now the days are coming where we're going to do some things to Esau. Psalms chapter 137, 7 on down, Zechariah chapter 10 and 5, and Isaiah chapter 13, and many other precepts where we're going to do things to the so-called white man that he hasn't seen before, nor has he been experienced, or he experienced. We're going to touch him. When I say touch him, I'm not talking about poke him. We're going to touch the so-called white man, or the Most High is going to touch him. His hand is going to rest upon him, and it's going to be by the hand of his people Israel. That's Ezekiel chapter 25 and 14. All right. So let's move on. All right, next question. Bear with me. Can you keep the Passover twice? For example, keep it in the 14th. No, you keep the Passover once. You can't keep 2 Day of Atonements or 2 Feast of Tabernacles, right? You keep the Passover once, right? Now, if you're unclean by reason of a dead body, then you have to pass over the next month, right? That you keep, right? But with that, I'm gonna close up, giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh. By Shema Mashiach Malak Yahushai. Most High willing you are edified. There's been a Passover Q&A. Again, we'll take questions for brothers that have questions. That number you can call in is 213-603-9096. And that PIN number is 94809-305. Again, make sure you're prepping wisely for the Passover and all sincerity. You're purging out leaven. You're making sure you get that kosher wine that you need. You make sure that you know where to get that lamb at, those bitter herbs, and more importantly, you're purging out leaven out of your spirit, out of your household, that you may be a new lump in Yahweh Shah. Prophecies coming to pass. China and Russia are linking up. All hell is breaking loose in Ukraine. NATO sending, I believe, 300,000 troops out there to train, or 30,000 troops out there to train. So, things are heating up and it's happening fast. That's more of a reason to make sure that we're diligent and on fire and waxing strong in these last days. But with that, Kwam Yashala. Shalom.